Well guys, I think I've done it. I've reached peak design stand status for travel. Phone case, sling, backpack, travel tripod, and now this, the Roller Pro. So in this video, we'll be doing a review of the Peak Design Roller Pro. I've actually had this for a couple months now, and I've taken it on several different trips, different styles, packed it different ways, of different lengths. So I do feel confident right now to be able to speak to the pros and cons of this carry-on bag and going beyond just that initial review. All right, let's start with the wheels. Now this is probably the most important feature for a piece of luggage because you're going to be lugging this thing around all over the world, at the airport, and all sorts of different surfaces. This uses 4 different wheels, but each wheel actually has 2 separate wheels. So there are really 8 wheels, and I think with this design, you end up getting something that can really handle a lot more different types of terrain. And it is incredibly large. It uses 60mm wheels, which is quite unconventional for most pieces of luggage. But let's compare with some of the other ones that I've used in the past. This is my OG Haze carry-on. It's a traditional hard shell, expandable. It's a tad smaller, but the main thing that's different are the wheels. So these use 40mm wheels compared to the 60mm, and they're using a single wheel configuration for the 4 wheels. Under certain conditions and terrain, it doesn't do such a great job because the wheels are so small. Now, Peak Design says that not many people use 60mm wheels, but this by DB Journey, the Ramverk Pro check-in medium size, uses the 60mm silent Hinomoto wheels. And I've been loving these wheels, and that's why I wasn't too shocked with the performance of the Roller Pro. This is a bigger bag, of course, but just incredibly smooth. It's got the double wheel configurations. These are pretty bulky wheels, and I've loved the Hinomotos. So really, the Peak Design has matched something like this. They are custom made, they're not the Hinomotos I've asked, but they do a very similar job in terms of performance. But I want to show you that others have been doing this as well. Now, when we're talking wheels with Peak Design, I love them. They work really well. They're super smooth, super agile, can handle all sorts of terrain. But my biggest gripe with these wheels is that they're too smooth. Weird to say with carry-on like this, but I've had so many situations where I've had to deal with runaway Roller Pro. There's just not enough, like even like this, because the table isn't perfectly flat, it's just gonna go on its own. So even with some weight, the wheels are too good. And that's kind of the problem with this Roller Pro carry-on. Next is SlimLink. So SlimLink, very impressive actually. Look how thin this is. Made of carbon fiber, is incredibly strong. Never had any issues with using the handle at all. There's just a couple things I think that are worth noting. Now, one, there are 2 lengths. This is the first one, and there's another one up here. I kind of wish maybe there was another one a little bit lower, although would I really need it or use it, I'm not sure, but just something that I thought of while I was testing it out. The other thing with my particular unit, you'll see here that it's got a bit of give. Now, I don't think it affects performance at all, but you know, playing around with this suitcase on the road, I'm just rocking it back and forth and I can hear and feel it. So something that could be tightened up and tuned a little bit better. I think the other thing that I had a bit of a gripe with was really this handle. It pretty much feels like solid plastic, but it doesn't really have any of the soft rubber touches, some of the comfort feel that you might want when you're using this handle and pulling this piece of luggage around the airport and in the city. It's got few kind of not so much sharp edges, but like hard edges that you can feel in your fingers. So it might create a bit of fatigue. This bottom part is made out of, it feels like a rubber. It's got some texture to it, and it's pretty solid plastic. So I just thought, oh, maybe this could have been a nice soft rubber, and really to make this one smooth one piece instead. Last thing I'll say with the button, it works really well. Never really had a hiccup with this. Releasing the telescoping handles was a cinch, really. Now, comparing SlimLink with the traditional suitcase handle, there is a mega improvement. Let me show you what I mean. This is my haze. Doesn't really work half the time. I don't know why. It requires a lot of going back and forth. Here, super smooth. Yep. Continuing on a positive note, something I absolutely loved with this bag, no joke, is the drawbridge opening. I didn't think I would have that much joy using it as I did on these several trips. It's kind of the reason why I kept wanting to go back to it, because for short trips and even some of the long trips, just loved how it works. So here are a couple examples. The first is at the airport, with the type of opening this has, I could quickly access some of those top organizers and the top things in the bag without having to place it down. So it actually was a lot easier than your typical kind of book folding carry-on luggage. But the main way that you really see the advantage is when it's laying down like this. So once it's open, you guys already know this. This bag opens up like this. It's got this drawbridge style. It's freestanding. It just allows you to see everything that you have in the bag. As a result, you get a really deep, cavernous main body that can carry your camera gear, a lot of clothes. And I like that, kind of having it all in one piece instead of separating by two. For me, that works out better, especially using packing cubes and camera cubes as well. This top part here is really well done with 3 pockets, and you can see what's inside them. And here you can put more stuff as well. So at the hotel, which is in most scenarios where I'm deploying it like this, I can put it now on a couch, like a single person couch. I could never do that before. You can put this on one of those luggage holders like you normally would, but it takes up a lot less space. I think that's the key thing behind this. You don't have to account for when you open it as a book the other side. And again, it's just things are ready to go. Now, I know you're wondering about size, and we were curious about that too. So for our trips, we actually went to various different airports, different airlines to try all the sizes that we could find. So this is a compilation of clips of us just trying different sizers. So there's some sizers that are horizontal, some are vertical, and you'll see here that for the most part, they all worked pretty good. Some of them required a little bit of a push or rearranging of the wheels to make it fit. But I'd say almost all of them were fine. Although yes, there may be this one that it didn't really work so well in. Overall though, I'd say within North America, we didn't have any problems with sizers. Now, I caveat this by saying that I don't know if I've ever been checked for carry-on size in North America at all. Now, if we shift over to somewhere like Europe and Asia, that's where we're not 100% sure. For some of those low-cost carriers, I know they're a stickler for these type of things and they might look at it. But even then, I'm thinking about those experiences and I don't think I've ever had them make me put it in a sizer. It's one of those things where it depends on where you are in the world, how strict the airlines are for the ones that you typically fly on. But I think for those of us in North America, there's really not that much to worry about. Now, the big elephant in the room though, is the weight of this guy. And so when I first held this bag and carried it like this, yeah, you can definitely feel that extra weight, but how much extra weight is there? So I'm gonna pull up some numbers. This thing is 8.6 pounds or 3.9 kilograms. Now, if I look at the competition, which would be Monos and Away, Monos is 7 pounds versus 8.6. Away is 7.5 pounds versus 8.6. So we're talking about a 1 pound to 1.5 pound difference. So that's where you're feeling that extra weight. Actually, in North America, there are no weight restrictions on carry-on. Air Canada specifically says that as long as you can put it up above and you can do it yourself, then you're fine. United, the same way. Where similar to size, low-cost carriers are really the issue. If I look at an experience I had with Hong Kong Express, when I did that trip a couple years ago, they actually had a scale at the gate. And so that just shows you how strict they are. It's a combined weight as well with your personal item. So that's really bad. But their limitation is 15.4 pounds or 7 kilograms. That doesn't leave you a lot of weight. Ryanair is a little bit more forgiving. It's just for the carry-on itself. It is 22 pounds or 10 kilograms. In that case, that leaves you 13.4 pounds of stuff you can put inside, or 6 kilograms. So yeah, I'd say that if you live in those areas and you're flying those low-cost carriers that are very restrictive, then you really have to pause and think about, like, is this a bag that you want? If you're looking for something super lightweight, this is probably not for you. I think the last thing I'll say about weight is that if you put into perspective, the real difference is in that 1 pound or 1.5 pound difference. Because if you travel with a Monos, if you travel with an Away, that's the advantage that you're getting. Is the loss of the pound or pound and a half something that you're going to feel when you travel? A small addendum I make to the weight conversation is that when I checked the Monos Expandable Carry-On Pro, that actually weighs 8.6 pounds. So this is just a word of caution to say that when you're comparing different products, it's really hard to do an apples to apples comparison. Every product has its own pros and cons, and so you really gotta lay them all out in front of you to see what works best for you. Now, material-wise, this particular bag is considered a hybrid bag, and that's because it's a hard shell, practically, but it's wrapped in a soft fabric material. This material is very similar, although slightly different, and I can't explain why. Slightly different than the everyday bag fabric, and also the travel backpack fabric, or even like the wash pouch, the tech pouch, that same material. So it's rugged and quite strong, but it is still fabric at the end of the day, so it is prone to some scuffs. I wouldn't say scratches, but scuffs that kind of become semi-permanent. I would say from personal experience of using this across 5 different trips, road trips, flights, and things like that, that it's held up pretty well. Probably because it's not like a check-in bag that takes a lot of abuse. I've tried to baby it a little bit for sure, but all the kind of dirt and grime and things like that, I've been able to wipe off with a warm soapy towel, and it's held up pretty good throughout. So the other thing I've noticed with this is that there is padding behind the fabric, and I think that's what gives it that extra give to the material, so it doesn't scratch as easily. It also, of course, gives it the bag more protection, adds to the weight as well. Areas of wear that I've noticed with the bag would be the hard plastics and the hard metals. So for one, on the zippers, I've definitely seen that black paint come off, probably because of rubbing against something else, or maybe the way I'm using these poles. The other part would be over here on the top. So this is hard plastic, the handle as well. The handle's kind of survived because it's recessed, but this upper part here, you can see some scratches and a dent. Now looking at the backside, these rubber pads have been doing their job, keeping the bag raised and preventing any sort of like hard contact with the fabric on this backside. Now a quick note about the front access compartment and snap tent. In terms of joy, I really love that I could put my laptop in the front. Now I know this is not a new invention. A lot of other suitcases have this feature now, but love that this was here because I could put my laptop in here and take it away from my backpack, so less weight on my shoulders. And I love that I had a dedicated laptop sleeve here for in those situations where you're landing in a new place, your room's not ready, you gotta figure out where you're gonna put your laptop. And in previous cases, I would wrap it around clothes, put it in my check-in bag, but now I have a dedicated space. Amazing. Now that snap tent, totally over-engineered. I don't know in what scenario would you forget to close this, but also have this happen, so you need something to catch your laptop in case it falls out. It's nice to have. It's a security, I guess, safety feature for your laptop, but yeah, I didn't really need that. The front compartments over here, it's a much shallower kind of area. Never really put a whole lot in it, mainly because I felt like those small accessories, small knickknacks were typically with me in the backpack. So I didn't really put much here. I did put my slippers here. That's what this ended up being. There's a really cool metal carabiner here. In all other Peak Design iterations of packs, this is typically a snap kind of plastic bit where you can put your keys in. So this is the first time I've seen something like this. Small details, but I do see them. I do appreciate it. But does it add to the weight? Now's a perfect segue to talk about security. I was definitely disappointed that the TSA lock wasn't built in. All the cool bags have it. Why doesn't this one have it? Now, it was explained to us that this is because of the hardware architecture. The off-the-shelf stuff was just not great. Takes up a lot more space, adds more weight. We don't want more weight for sure. So they decided, let's just go with a simpler solution. And that I can understand, actually. So it's one of those things where you just gotta live with it. There is a solution for it, and it's really simple. It's just your standard TSA lock that you can get off of any retailer like Amazon. Here, got a 3-pack. Link is in the description. But with this lock, you can pretty much lock the zippers, which is what you need to do. There are these pulls up at the top, the fabric pulls, and you also have these circular loops here so you can thread it through. One of the things that I didn't mention in the front compartment area is that it only has one zipper. I wish there were two, so you can bring it all into the middle. But with this, the close position is always on this side, right over here. So if you want to lock everything with one lock, you need to also bring in the main drawbridge opening zippers to the side. And it's weird that also the laptop zipper pull doesn't have a loop for some reason. Basically use your lock, thread it through all the circles, and with that, you can lock them all together, and then you're good to go. This is not really gonna go anywhere. Now, probably the most underrated feature of the Roller Pro is the fact that it's expandable. Now, it's something that most people don't know about because it's not widely promoted that way, and none of the pictures show it in expandable format. But it's really simple. There's actually a zipper that goes all the way around, and once you have that, instant extra space. I love that Peak Design has fit this feature in, even if it costs extra weight. I believe that every single carry-on, check-in bag needs to be expandable because you never know when you need that extra space, especially on those trips to Japan when you're buying a lot of stuff. So it's really easy to do the expansion. Because of the wheels, everything stays super stable and rock steady. Of course, we got to talk about the extra large camera cube. This was expressly made for the Roller Pro, easily one of the largest camera cubes that I own, but it's a perfect glove fit. And so once your camera cube is inside, you can put all your lenses and camera bodies in here. I was able to fit in quite a few things. Even if you're not traveling with a ton of camera gear, you can definitely divide it so that part of it's for camera, part of it's for clothes and other things as well. While a good fit, I did notice this small gap though. This camera cube also comes with a bunch of different dividers, so you have a lot of flexibility and customizability of what you want to do inside. I think my only complaint about the large camera cube is really the ease in which you can lock it in. So very similar to other camera cubes and how it works for other Peak Design bags is that you have these clips. They give you a whole bunch of clips, and you just need a lot of dexterity to be able to fit it in. There are loops that are designed to do it, but because of how deep this thing is and you got to feed it through, really I only managed to do it on one on each end. I believe you can do it on more sides because there are additional loops that I see inside, but really a bit of a point of frustration just with how these work. It's not the most elegant design, I'd say, but just something to keep in mind. I know I've missed a bunch of things, so why don't I rapid fire some features that I think are amazing and some that are just okay. The first one would be the handles. I love that you can grab it from all sides, so it's great for lifting it from a bin or on the ground or what have you, so that's really great. Some of the other features are on the inside. When you open it up, you have a tiny little pocket for an AirTag. So it's super easy to put in. The other hidden pocket is this one up here. No two trips the same. It's a great spot for a passport. Although at the same time, I don't know if I've really used this feature that much because typically the passport is on my body and I'm a little bit uncomfortable with having it here when it's in the overhead bin or somewhere else, right? But it's nice to be able to have a hidden pocket, and you don't need to just put your passport here. You can put other things like maybe jewelry or other things that you want to keep hidden away. This part here, which I already have zipped down, is okay. Like I know that the idea is that we can roll it up and have it open, but to be honest, I love the organization capabilities of these 3 pockets. I can see inside, they're awesome. Most of the times I had these zipped, but something I didn't really love about where these kind of pieces of hardware, these corded hooks for the drawbridge, is that they actually get in the way of zipping. So like this, you're always gonna hit this plastic piece, and then you gotta kind of wiggle around to get it out of the way. And this happens on both sides. So it's not quite a smooth kind of zip down. Sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't, but you know that it's gonna knock it there. So I feel like that could have been improved. Now, something that is kind of cool as a feature is that there's a fabric loop up here, so you can never run into a situation where all your zippers are on one side or the other. You know that it's closed when the zippers are up at the top. Now, this bag also has a retention system, and this is just a fancy word for having corded loops in the bag, like most check-in or carry-on bags already have, but they just use the Peak Design hardware. So they're fancy in that way, but really they do the same thing. You can change the tension quite easily, and they just work. You can hook it on both sides. It keeps your belongings kind of nice and tight within the bottom of the bag to prevent it from moving around. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this. Typically, I like to have it just open so that I have quick access to all my things, but on occasion I've used it and it works pretty well. What about external carry? Well, I actually have the external carry cords strapped on the outside, and I've actually tried putting the travel tripod out here, and it works pretty well. I've actually flown with it in that configuration. Obviously your tripod's going to be exposed, so you're going to be banging it around different things, but to get it again off my back, similar to the laptop, it's a nice feature to have. Now, of course, these external carry straps can be used in all sorts of different ways. You could put a jacket, you could put other tubular type things out here, but it does a pretty good job. You can pretty much yank it to be super tight and it's not going to slide off. We already talked about this, but the space inside here is quite cavernous. Because of Slim Link, those tubes actually don't take up as much space. It's really the top part of the handle that has a bit of a bulge, but everything else is open to you to fill. And what's great about this large cavernous space, it's just one big space, and that means you can really configure it the way that you want, especially with packing cubes. So with the Peak Design packing cubes, they're designed perfectly to fit in here. With the large one, it goes right in and fits in a square space, and you can pretty much mix and match with all the other sort of packing cubes that Peak Design or other manufacturers have available. This bag is by no means perfect, but for me, I feel like it fills a particular need, especially when you want to go light or you want to carry camera gear. A lot of different travel scenarios where this bag has been kind of the perfect carry-on for me. But you will have to decide based on how you travel and what you're looking for in a carry-on bag. So now it probably makes sense to talk and summarize a bit of the pros and cons of this bag from my perspective. Pros? Love the drawbridge opening. That is the best thing ever. I think maybe all carry-on bags need to have this feature. Everything is so accessible. I love the smaller footprint. Now, Slim Link has been good, but I think the real impact that it has is that it allows for a larger space inside. So those awkward tubes and the zippered closings that you had from the past, those are now gone, and you can reclaim that space, which I think is pretty awesome. Another feature that I really love are, well, the wheels, in that they're super smooth and they're great. They're a joy to glide around, but it comes with some caveats, and I'll get to that in the cons. The camera cube, extra large, works really well. So when I'm traveling with a super long telephoto lens, it fits inside. I can put all my camera gear inside. So as a workstation, it's perfect for those type of jobs and those type of trips that I might be on, whether local or when I need to take a flight. And last thing I'll say is the expandability that we just touched on earlier. That is awesome. The fact that I have this, it's such a neat hidden feature that nobody talks about, but I think, like I said, really underrated. Now, cons. So we talked about the wheels earlier. Yes, the wheels are too slick. I don't know if this is adjustable. If they are, that would be awesome. They are literally runaway. So you need to really have your hands on this, or else at the airport, it's gonna basically crash into somebody else. So I wish that was improved. We talked about the locks. So I get it. like I said, but it's a tad annoying that I need to bring another lock, and the way that it needs to thread through all the different hoops to make it work, it really is you jumping through hoops to get the security right on this type of bag. Another con would be probably the over-engineering of the flap at the top, the front axis for the laptop. I do feel my laptop is super secure, but did we need that flap? I don't know. Size and weight. So that being another con for specific people that will know that they'll encounter something like this. So low-cost carriers, specific countries. This has a certain weight. It's certainly heavier than others by a pound. So that takes away from how much you can pack inside. Size-wise, I think it is great for the majority, maybe 90% of people, but if you're in Europe or Asia where they're super strict, you might have a tough time if they're literally going to be using the sizer and measuring things out. But for me, I've been able to get away with this bag in all the scenarios I've flown in. But again, I haven't gone to Asia or Europe with this, so I can't say for sure. Another slight con would be the handle itself. I talked about Slim Link being great for space. I just felt like this could have been engineered to be a little bit smoother, softer on the hands, something that's a bit more comfortable. Like if this was a really rubberized pad down here, would feel more comfortable. But you guys tell me like whether that's a con when you get yours. Big elephant in the room, of course, is the price. Peak Design, with a lot of their other products, carries a premium price tag. In Canada, it's $7.99 Canadian dollars. In the US, it's $5.99. Same in euros and $5.49 British pounds. It's an expensive product, to say the least. And when we look at other products like the Monos Expandable Carry-On Pro, that's $4.25 Canadian dollars. So quite the price jump in product. So with, again, everything Peak Design, you'll have to decide whether it's worth it for you or not. Finally, I'll talk about the material. I like the material. I like that it's hybrid because, you know, the hard shell is good for me. And the EVA padding and all that stuff is great. I worry though, so far it's still okay, that this fabric is going to scuff long term. And I've seen it happen with my travel backpack and some of the other bags that I have. If you are, encounter any sort of hard surfaces, especially on the plane, that will nick it, that will scratch it, some of those things don't come off. Dirt is no problem, but any of those things are going to show up. But of course, like you're thinking about, your hard shell cases, those plastics are going to get scratched anyway. So I think compared to that, maybe you're at a slight advantage. But this might show up in more unpleasant ways because of how things scratch on this material. So far, so good. But yeah, if you're going to be paranoid about this, then that might be a problem. And so last thing, alongside with that, is that I wish it came with a cover. So I know a lot of people do, I don't know, the crazy plastic wrap thing is really not for me, but I know you can buy kind of these cool covers for bags. So if it actually came with one, that would be kind of cool. And so just the suggestions to the Peak Design guys, let's get a cover. If after watching this video, you feel like you need this carry-on in your life, we have links to the Roller Pro in many places. We got links right up here. We got links in the description down below, and we got this QR code right here. If there's anything that I haven't touched on or you have questions about, make sure to drop your questions and comments down below. I'll be sure to personally respond to all those. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. As usual, keep going to awesome places.